Thanks for coming out here. I'm here with Nick Diaz. Wanted to get you out here to talk about a little bit about your life and kind of what it was like for you. And obviously, I'm here with Baja Rehab. Kind of get your story and get to know, let other people know a little bit about kind of what you've been through and where you're at now.
I was born and raised in Stockton, California, and I guess let's just get right to it, right? Like I was in and out of hotels and stuff like that, hotels, and
Growing up,
yeah,
like with your family, or
yeah. I just, you know what I mean. We get kicked out of one house, and then in one hotel, one motel, next one, and it was like it was Lodi or Stockton, and it's like I don't know offhand how many grammar schools I went to. It was like I went to Washington, then I was at Hammer. Yeah, I went to George Washington, like elementary, first grade, and then second grade I was at Live Oak, and then third grade I was at Davis School, and then from Davis School I went to Vinewood Elementary. So like five elementary schools until I think that's elementary, right? Elementary schools until sixth grade, and then I was at Murata Middle School, and once I got to Murata Middle School, I was kind of more settled down, living in Murata, California, which is a really nice place to live. I got really lucky, and it was like in like a nicer neighborhood.
why were you guys moving so much?
My mom was a full-time waitress, and my dad wasn't really around. And yeah, it was just a lot of, you know what I mean, us getting left at home alone a lot, and I was a lot older. Not a lot older, but enough to where it made a big difference.
When I was a kid, like I would go outside and go play in the neighborhood, but we didn't move around a lot. I mean, did you have experiences like that, or?
So when I was 4 years old, and my mom was at work, I lived like a block away from the restaurant, Lions Restaurant, and I snuck out of the window at 4 years old and walked to my mom's restaurant, which is like, I mean, maybe a half a mile away, which is kind of far for a 4-year-old to be walking on the street. And then I was sitting there peering in the windows and stuff like that until one of the cooks saw me and then brought me in and was like, "Hey, your kid, your kids are out here." And so she took me home, and then my dad was like, "What the fuck?" and put me to bed, and then shut the door. And then I went to go to the window again and open it, and then before I got through, he put his hand on top of the window and shut it when I was trying to get out the second time. So I was making my rounds pretty early, and started getting in trouble at school pretty early.
Like after elementary, after sixth grade, or
I think I got my first fight with a kid when I was in like first grade.
how'd that go down?
Not good. I was just kind of I wasn't a troublemaker, but I didn't really sit still, and I was just didn't really pay attention in class, and then they put me in special ed classes and stuff like that, and I just really always felt like school was just not helping me. I was pretty smart. I was a pretty smart kid. Like whenever it was time to do like a big assignment, I would do it, and then they'd be like, "Wow, how did you do this?" Like. But I wouldn't I wouldn't turn in any of my homework or do anything else that I was supposed to do. And I was pretty athletic. I was on the swim team, which was weird for a kid like me that was like getting into trouble a lot. All the kids that swim on the swim team, they're pretty good kids, They're like,
Yeah. Well, you got to maintain a certain GPA, right?
In high school, but I didn't swim in high school.
Okay.
I swam until high school, and then after high school, I started swimming again. But So I was trying to wrestle and play football when I was in high school, and I didn't have the attendance, and I got into some fights in high school. So I was pretty much trying to switch high schools in the middle of high school. It was because the wrestling coach was like, "Come and wrestle for our school," and it was like before in middle school, grammar school, I had like an interdistrict agreement to go to one. It was always a problem, like where you live. You know, you have to go to this school if you live here. You know. And,
Oh yeah, like the districts.
yeah, the districts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they wouldn't let me They wouldn't let me wrestle for Lodi. Coach thought he was going to get me on the team, but it never did. But I started doing jiu-jitsu right away, and then
How old were you exactly, like when you started jujitsu?
I was 15. But I was 13 and 14. I was watching the UFC. Maybe younger than that. I was renting VHS UFCs and watching UFC fighting and stuff like that. You know, and smoking weed and you know, I just hang around with a bunch of kids. Like they did a bunch of drugs and that's just kind of what we did. And then we'd go and shoulder tap people, get them to buy us alcohol, try to get some girls drunk. You know, it was just
Normal teenage
it was
stuff?
just, you know what I mean? I was getting in gang fights and people getting jumped into gangs and shit. Like, we're gonna jump you in. Like, what? You better fight back too. It was like, but then I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 16, and then that didn't really that's all I did, you know. And I was beating pro fighters. I was beating them on the mats. I was beating them in the gym, and I was
Like right away?
yeah, grown fighters, you know, was competing in jiu-jitsu, and then I would get my friends that were a little older to drive me all the way to Walnut Creek or Pleasant Hill to train with Caesar Gracie, and then started getting like a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt. You know, I think I was purple belt by the time I was 23. I was a purple belt, and then by the time I was 24, I think I was a black belt. So that's the right age, I think, to get your black belt. Like when you're, you know, in your early 20s. Like,
What about your friends? Like, I know, like for me, like my friends that I went to school with, high school with, all of that. Like, obviously, I'm not in contact with any of them anymore, and I think some of it was because of the choices I made. But are you still friends with people from like back
Yeah.
then? Like, do you stay in contact with?
yeah, well, I mean, I had the same group of friends. We had a whole, like 20 of us or something. We're all friends, live in Murata, and I had a pretty good group of friends. I mean, a lot of them did good or went to college, moved away, and then some of them stayed and started fucking up. And but I didn't really maintain friendships, like, you know what I mean, for a long time. Like I was busy. I was fighting 3 to 5 fights a year for 17 years. All I used to think about was weight. How much do I weigh? What am I going to eat? After a while, you realize there's more to life. And then, that's when I started getting into some trouble again. I was bringing some old friends back in the picture, and that really fucked things up. But I cared about them, though. I was like, wow, I didn't know they were fucked up. I didn't even know what that was. You know, I was clueless. Even though I'd been around it my whole life, I didn't know, like, you know what I mean? I just didn't know anything about drugs or a little bit about alcohol, but I didn't drink alcohol my whole 20s. I drank when I was, you know what I mean, until I was 16, 17, 18. I was drinking a little bit, but when I hit like 20, I just stopped drinking. Before, you know, I would get into some bars. By the time I actually was old enough to be in a bar, I wasn't drinking. I was just too many fights. I was fighting in Japan. Too much going on. Yeah, and then, you know, when I used to drink, it would always it never ended well. I was always like getting nauseous and fucking. I wouldn't get drunk. You know what I mean? I didn't know what it was like to get like super drunk and like, you know what I mean? Like where you can't walk straight. I would always get nauseous before I would get to that point, and I was like, fuck, I'll see you guys later. And it would ruin my night. I'd be with some, supposed to be like trying to hook up with some girl or something like that, and then I'd end up in the bathroom instead. And it was just fucking ruined. And for hours, like, you know what I mean? Like alcohol poisoning, like off of like, drinking more than if I would drink like a 40 or something, and I would drink, if I started on the second 40, I was in for trouble. You know what I mean? It was like before I would even get drunk, I would get like I'd have a reaction. And so I stopped drinking, and I ended up holding like, these long relationships.
So things were better. Things were better without the substance, without the alcohol.
Without drinking, yeah, I much better. I never thought I would go back to drinking.
It's kind of a weird thing how like it's like such a part of everyone's life. I mean, for me even too, like
I couldn't stand it though. Like being around, I would still go to parties and stuff like that, but I couldn't stand it. I'd smoke weed. I smoked a lot of weed, but I couldn't stand being around my friends when they're, when they were drunk. It was like, it was fun because they would. But it was always just like everyone would get trashed. They were doing those keg stands, you know what I mean? Lifting people up over the keg, and they were fucking drinking it upside down. And yeah, I must have tried that once or twice, and then it wasn't fun anymore. People were getting stabbed or shot. And it,
where? Doing keg stands?
Dude, no, like at these parties like that, there was
in Stockton.
Yeah, big fight every time there was a party. There was a big fight, and that was the thing. It was like if there was going to be a big fight at a party, I was going to be involved. And it was probably me or one of my friends, and so I was just waiting for it to go down. I mean, as soon as it would go down, boom, boom. It was like at someone's house or some backyard or some, some. Like bonfire party or something like that, and that shit was all just crazy. And then until my friend got shot, and once my friend got shot, I was like, it's not like I just stopped going to parties, but we stopped going to parties. It wasn't even like I was too busy to be at those parties anyways, but I was. And then one of my best friends got shot, and yeah, that guy, I can't help but talk about him. He got shot, and then he was in the hospital. He got shot 4 times in the chest with a 44. I don't know how you lived through that. The doctor was like, yeah, I would have died. I don't know how you survived. And then, so they started putting him on all these drugs and stuff like that. And
is he still alive?
Sooner or later, yeah, he's still alive. And then he ended up on, doing like some heroin and shit like that. And then he was fucked up. And so I went back and hung out with this guy. And I was like, damn, I didn't know what it was like. I thought you were gonna be normal like before. I didn't even know that what being fucked up was all about. I didn't understand it, And I told myself I was never gonna get like that, and I never got like that. And luckily, I didn't have anything to do with those type of drugs. But just being around those type of drugs really caused me a big problem. You know what I mean? Like, caused me a big problem. And I was going through it. I went through a breakup. I lost this fight with Anderson Silva. Tested positive for weed. They suspended me for 5 years. I was going through a breakup, and I didn't really give a fuck about being around those type of drugs. I wasn't partaking in those type of drugs, but I was around it. And
well, you didn't get in trouble for any other drug. I mean, you got in trouble for the weed, and we talked a little bit about that before. But almost like you were.
I did though. I did get in trouble for those type of drugs because I mean, like, you know what I mean. It was like the people that were all of a sudden around were fucking. They were, either selling drugs or bringing drugs around, and then fucking next thing you know, people were cruising by my house with fucking guns and shit. You know what I mean? People were pulling guns out again, and I'm like, this is fucked up. I gotta leave town. I'm like, this is like when I was a kid and my friend got shot. I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And so I got the fuck out of there. But
can we back up just a little bit? Like right after like high school and you're kind of getting into your career and getting busy, you start gaining some fame. right? And now you're obviously transitioning from a young man or even a kid that was going through a bunch of schools, and then you're kind of getting out of high school. Maybe had some problems with that, but now you kind of have a purpose, and fame came with that.
Yes.
What was that like?
So like, well, it came with that, but it was kind of something that like when I went home and I wanted to like show my friends, hey, like, you know what I mean, like, there's more to life. Check it out. I got fucking fan base. There's people everywhere. I met so many nice people, good people, and proper type of people. And then when I went home, it just, you know, it was just right back to being around trash, you know, all over again. And yeah, and so I would leave town and come back. It was just a vicious cycle, leaving town and coming back. But
how did you
there's no being famous like in a small town. It's like everybody knows you and everybody recognizes you, but you don't want to sit around that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh yeah, it was fun seeing you the first day, but now you're here again, and I'm like, yeah, I live here. Give me a fucking break. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta live here too. So it was like, you start staying in the house and you're like, fuck, I gotta leave town. And so it was hard to live at home and be at home. That kind of thing was hard.
What did you do to like if you'd come back home and then get stressed or you get frustrated with your situation? How did you deal with that? Was it
I'd
just
call
go
my
back to
agent and I'd be like, hey, get me out of here, and then fucking send me a car or book me a flight and I'd leave. And I'd leave and then my house would get robbed or something like that, and it was crazy. And my brother started these big fights with Conor McGregor, and it was just the UFC and MMA blew up like to where it was like hard to walk around. You know what I mean? Like there's fucking fan base everywhere. You know, so once I'd find like somewhere to stay, I would stay. You know what I mean? Like somewhere that I wanted to be. That I would. It wasn't like when I was younger. I'd just go do whatever I wanted, go out whenever I wanted, and yeah, that's kind of tough, you know.
Do you think the money and the celebrity changed kind of who you were as a person ever? Or have you always kind of tried to keep the same moral compass and stay the same?
Yeah, I think I've been the same since day one. I'm always going to be the same. You know, I like talking to people. I like taking pictures with fans. I don't like to be that guy that everybody's like, oh, that fucking guy's a dick, you know, like. I met him and he's a dick, you know. Like, I feel like that's more my brother. He's kind of stuck up, but I've always been better at dealing with people. You know what I mean? Like I teach classes, big seminars, lots of people.
You like teaching and working with people?
Yes and no. I don't like getting stuck and teaching in my own school. You know what I mean? Because you have to stay there. It's like, you know, so traveling around and doing some seminars is fun, but then you kind of want to go back there and train there, but it's like you don't want to take attention from the instructors, and like you don't want to like crowd the gym. You don't want to be like get all this attention. That's my problem. Is like I would try to go back to a small town and back to like a, you know, and it was just like, okay, you're here, we're tired of you, and it's like great. Now I just got nowhere to go. So that's kind of hard, you know. It's like almost like you got to have your own gym, you know, or you got to make a plan with people or something. It's not like it used to be, you know. It was fun when it wasn't popular. It was like training was easy. Now it's like you have girls and kids, they do it, you know what I mean, and people want to keep a gym, like run a business, you know what I mean, and there's a way to do that, and I don't think it favors fighters, you know what I mean, and but the gym doesn't make their money off of fighters either. They make their money off of students and stuff like that. So it's like it's tough being a fighter and you want to train at a new gym. And then it's weird too. I always had a problem with it because it was like, okay, well you train at our gym, so stay here and train at our gym. You know what I mean? Like you don't, you know, we fly one flag. You know, it's like
you're trapped.
Everybody gets into fights over it. Like, you know, you train at this gym and then you come over here and you train at this gym. It's like pick one. And it's just small town shit, you know. It's kind of makes it hard. Training somewhere or going somewhere, being famous. Being famous fucking sucks.
I mean, we were talking about that earlier, like
It sucks.
before that.
It's fun to go and bring some new people and introduce everybody, or you know what I mean. Like they introduce you. Hey, have you met so and so? And then after that, it's over. You got to go find it elsewhere. You know.
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. I was thinking about like me hiding because I'm sober, and what it was like for me and me trying to kind of, keep people, where I wanted them in a sort, so that I could kind of do what I wanted, as far as substance, or live how I wanted to live. And what that looked like was kind of, maybe lying to my ex about stuff. But you were saying earlier, like when you got they had the issue with the UFC, how it was posted on the tower in New York. And like that, there's no hiding. There's no hiding. Like we're just at different levels, obviously.
It makes you like, you know what I mean. They're like, okay, well, you know what I mean. Like, oh, you got a drug problem, or you fucking, and I'm like, I never looked at it.
At that point, did you feel like you had? I mean, that was a while ago.
It was a big problem. It's a big problem, but like.
But do you feel like you had a drug problem at that point?
I definitely did.
Okay.
I definitely did. But, it was like, instead of acknowledging that like I had a drug problem or trying to fix it like it was a problem, or acknowledging that it was a problem, I fucking changed the problem so that it wasn't a problem. Like, like we got that drug to be legalized.
It is legal.
Yeah, and part of it
very legal in California and many states.
Like, whether a big part of it was because of me or something like that or not, it sure did feel like it, because everybody kind of like signed a petition and shit like that, and was like, this is wrong. And then they started, they suddenly started changing the whole fucking thing, like, and they had my name was in a big part of it. So it was just
you feel like you got dealt a bad hand with that?
I mean, definitely. And it was just the negativity. I didn't, at the time, it didn't affect me. I was like, okay, but then time goes by and like you get this fucking dark cloud, and everywhere you go, it just follows you. And and my brother never had to deal with that. I don't understand. Like, he got the benefits without having the bad part. I ended up taking all the hard shots for everybody with that one.
I mean, you kind of did. I mean, and I think they've changed some things since then.
Yeah, they did. They changed some things.
Mm-hmm. What are you most? I mean, given everything you've been through, what are you most proud of, like, in your career? But not only that, like, as a man, as like a human being, is like, if you look, I mean, you've had some time to reflect, right? You've got, you're you're into your second year of sobriety. You've been stone cold sober for a long time, and you've had a lot of time to reflect on, decisions in life and all of that. Like, there's got to be some stuff that, you're proud of.
I mean, looking at like my career as an athlete, as like a world-class athlete, you know what I mean? Like, as like a triathlete, I think I take more pride in that, because none of the other fighters in the sport or in the world, none of them have done like what I've done. They don't even know about it. Like, I've done so many races. Like, I've done more races than pro triathletes. So it's like, I would just race and race. Like, I spent my money from fighting on racing, and I would race. I raced half Ironman, Olympic distance, international distance, full Ironman, and I would do these big events. Like,
what do you get out of running like that? Like, what does that do for you?
Just freedom.
Like, you just feel good?
Free, and it's like, instead of being trapped in a gym all day long and a boxing ring or just running constantly, you start to, go to the pool and swim and get out on a bike for 30 miles or ride with a group. I started mountain biking, so like mountain biking kind of took over, and I started doing mountain bike off-road triathlons, and it's like a rougher crowd, and I advanced like way further in that than I did doing regular triathlons, because it's a smaller crowd, and not everybody can mountain bike, and then not everybody that can swim can mountain bike or bike can swim, and the people that do that can't run. So if you can do all three, then it makes it a lot of fun. And I was able to do all three, least of all running. But like the thing is because I would gain weight. So it's like, but I had to lose weight to fight, but I would gain weight from fighting, because there's so many different categories of weight classes that you're putting up with it, like in the gym, and you just get stronger and bigger, and then you want to run to lose the weight. So running has always been like a tool to lose weight. Like two things get you in shape: running and sparring. So like, you do those to get your weight down.
Why do they do that? Why does everybody want to lose weight? Like, why does everybody go down instead of like?
Because if
you don't want to fight up, you want to fight down. Is that what it is?
Like if you fight me at 175 pounds, I'm fucking huge. I'm really big for that weight. Other fighters. Yeah, you can't fight like at the weight that you weigh. You have to get your weight down if you're gonna fight. Otherwise, you're just at a disadvantage. And so yeah, you run. If you don't run, I don't know how people do it without running. I know there's fighters that don't run. I don't know how they lose weight. Because I'll to get into race shape, I gotta run, and to get into fight shape, I gotta run, and to make weight, I gotta run. Like I don't know how anybody does it without running. But there's been a lot of pro fighters. They don't run, and so since I had to run so much, I just took up doing triathlon, and I just enjoyed doing.
Is that harder on your body, you think, than fighting, or is it all hard? Or
It's all the same, depending on the intensity that you put on or put in. Like what goes up must come down. So if you go hard the day before, then you're gonna have to like make up for it in active recovery, and there's learning how to train in zones, and without training in zones, it's like being blindfolded. You know what I mean? So before you learn how to train in specific zones and stuff like that, it's really hard. And I'm like, I can't imagine learning how to do that. I never would have if I didn't start doing triathlon and trying to improve my times and doing longer distances. And so other fighters to this day, they're not doing that. I would recommend training in zones and learning how to do that. Maybe get a heart rate monitor and figure it out, like through a heart rate monitor before you kind of like figure it. Once you understand all that, you don't need all this equipment.
I mean, obviously you've been trained. I mean, you've been trained. I mean, you've had a good career. You've been trained by, probably the best people that there are, and a ton. I mean, do you think you'll be training people in the future?
I wouldn't say that, but I fought the best people that there are.
Mm-hmm.
So, training people, it's not really like something that I want to do. Train people, you know what I mean? Like, I used to think I'd always be a teacher or something like that, and it's not something that I want to do, but I do it though. If I'm gonna go train, then I'm gonna probably be the one teaching. You know what I mean? Because it's like, hey, well, what do you think? You know what I mean? Like, well, I say we do it like this. You know what I mean? And so then we're gonna try it. So a big portion of me training is gonna be teaching, and or I don't teach, and then, you know what I mean? Everybody kind of figures it out the hard way, and they're like, wow, how'd you do that? And then I do teach. So one way or another, like, you're going to learn something from me one way or another.
You're into your career. There's some substance abuse stuff going on. It's starting to have there's some negative side effects from it. I mean, is there a point where you were like, I mean, I know for me, like, I had a point where it's like, man, I know this is bad for me. I know this isn't going good. I see the direction I'm going, but by that time, it seemed like it was almost too late. And I continued through that vicious cycle for a while. I mean, was there a time for you where you had
I
they
always
call it like a moment of clarity, like, oh, I have this moment of clarity. I've realized this, but
Well, I can't say I ever had one of those because I always had a fight, you know, and then I always had to get to work, and that would pull me out. So yeah, I've never had a moment of clarity with alcohol or substance abuse, but I have had a fight, or I have had like a class to teach or something like that. Luckily, so I would dig myself up out of a hole. And
what about a time like you couldn't show up, or like you weren't able to, or like did you? I mean,
sure, but I can't blame that on like substance abuse or alcohol. I wasn't available, you know. But I've never missed anything like that I was supposed to be at. I've never, like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Sure.
You know, so I'm not that type of guy to miss out on something that I've had planned.
Well, I know for me, like, it was birthday parties. There was, a job interview. There was stuff that was important for me to show up to.
I've missed funerals, and I've missed I've missed tons of funerals, but like that was for my own. Like, I can't blame that on anything except for that. You know, I had my own stuff going on. You know, I mean, I guess I don't think substance abuse or alcohol helped. That's for sure.
Well, it's not a health food, yeah.
But you know, at the same time, like, I don't have any regrets. Like, I just don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't emotionally available to show up to certain funerals. I've already been to enough. I mean, and like, both my grandparents are gone, and I didn't go to either one of their funerals. I wasn't happy about it, but I also didn't get invited. So it's not like I haven't had a lot of supporters and a lot of friends, like, realistically. Sure, I've got a lot of fans and I've got a lot of supporters and stuff like that, but I don't see it, you know. I never recognized it because I don't see it. It's just kind of on the outside. And yeah, I've had a pretty intense schedule my whole adult life.
Well, no, I mean, knowing that, how do you know? I mean, sitting here with a little over a year, 100% sober, getting ready to move on with your life and move on to the next step. How is it that you're able to judge, like, who's going to be good and who's going to be healthy for you and who's not going to be healthy from you, and who's trying to, like, gain from you and who's trying to actually be there for you, right? Because there's a lot to that. I mean, if someone's actually trying to be there for you and you're paranoid because, oh, I don't know who this person is, or like, that's got to, how like, from what you've learned and where your head's at, like, how do you find these people?
I just, based on, like, financial income and stuff like that,
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you're not making any money, then you're not surrounded by the right people. And if you're not surrounded by the right people, you're not making any money.
That being said, what if there's a bunch of people that are surrounded by money, but they're actively, getting loaded and drinking and stuff? I mean, is that a direction you want to? I mean, for me, I'm in a position where, like, I figured out for myself that I can't safely moderate anymore. Like, moderation's off the table for me, right? As somebody that's sober now, like, I know that sometimes I can hold it together, but sometimes I can't, and it's not worth the risk for me, right? So, like, do you think being in like that kind of a scene or being around certain people that maybe they do have a lot of money, maybe they do have support, but maybe they're not built like you in a certain way? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I'm not one to judge people. I mean, and I'm not one to judge. You have the top fighters in the world are full blown alcoholics and drug addicts, and the top athletes in the world too. And we're just talking about it like there's all these famous people, and you'd never know it. So it's like you know what I mean, like it's like, if you walk out your front door, you could get hit by a car. I mean, it's tough, but
You could.
yeah. But that doesn't mean don't go outside.
But it also means it's probably safer not to run around the middle of the street,
Sure.
right? So how are you gonna differentiate those people, right? And trust the process and find your own way.
Well,
I mean, surely there's some people that you trust, right? There's some people that have shown up consistently and been good in your life.
no.
No.
No, I don't really have a lot of supporters or people that I trust.
Well, you got a lot of fans. I mean, one fan called me and told me
Yeah.
let you go,
We should.
or you can stick a
Yeah.
45 in my mouth.
Oh no. Yeah.
I mean, there's been some strange phone calls that I've gotten.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. That's what I'm saying. But I can't go sifting through fans either. I'm not one to do that. But I mean, it's just like I'm not a bad judge of character, and I, you know what I mean. I don't plan on surrounding myself with like the wrong type of people, and I don't think I have in the past.
Well, it sounds like no. I mean, you've had a really successful career and made a lot of really good decisions.
Yeah, like I said, just being financially and motivated in general, is
You want to get back on your feet.
is the key. Yeah.
Do you remember kind of the events that transpired, or how you ended up here in treatment in Mexico at Baja Rehab?
Yeah, I just had a falling out with like my current agents, and then you know what I mean. I had a falling out with some friends that wasn't, you know what I mean. It was like, okay, this isn't a good time for us to split. You know what I mean, to part ways. And I was in the middle of a big job, and so, you know what I mean. Nobody saw it my way, and so I wound up here.
What's something that you've learned about yourself since you've been here?
About myself, I think that that I like being busy with what I do and not being restricted
Sure.
from doing what it is I do.
Do you like being sober, Nick?
I don't like, consistently being under the influence of anything, and I've really never known sobriety my whole life. Like as far as like smoking weed and drinking and being, there was for 3 years I was, before I came here, I was fully sober, and I didn't like it.
No.
No, I didn't like it at all.
What was that like?
It was living hell.
Being sober for 3 years?
Yeah, it was worse than this whole year that I've spent here.
Well, they talk about that. They say it gets worse once somebody stops the substance.
It was really bad, but this was a different time.
When was that?
It was after I fought Anderson Silva. Me and this girl parted ways, and I left town, and there was nobody to fight, so I didn't fight anybody. And it was awful. it was terrible. I was doing all these different healing. I was doing recovery. I was in borderline rehabs that I didn't even know were rehabs. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about drug addicts, and I didn't understand.
Why did you do it? Why did you decide to get sober for 3 years?
Because
Like, what for?
I just had like a bad, you know what I mean? Like I said, people were driving past my house with fucking loaded guns, and I was like, it scared the shit out of me. I was like, holy fuck. Either, like, you know, I thought these motherfuckers were ready to kill me, and they were. And that's facts. These motherfuckers were gonna kill me. I mean, they're like, okay, you know what I mean, showing up like, oh yeah, fucking, you know, baby mamas at your house, motherfucker. And I'm like, no, she's not here. She was here. She was here, but she's not here anymore. And I'm like, you know, I'm sorry. Like, fuck, you know what I mean? And I'm telling this guy this while my friend's got a gun pointed right at his head. You know what I mean?
So that's why you got sober for 3 years?
So I'm going, yeah.
To get away from the drama?
I was like, I'm going to fucking die.
But what does sobriety have to do with that drama?
Well, I was just in a position where, I mean, it didn't have anything to do with that drama, but it definitely didn't help like being around these types of people.
Sure.
You know, and so I think that, like, you know, being sober kept me from partaking in anything that I wasn't aware of.
What was your experience being here? I mean, it's a lockdown treatment center, right, in Mexico. You've been here a while. I know you're leaving within a couple of days, maybe less, and moving on with your life. What was your experience like here?
I mean,
Or was there confusion about why you got here? Was there, you know, like epiphanies of like, oh, maybe, is there gratitude of maybe this was, you know, a silver lining?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being here, but I'm not grateful for anybody that had anything to do with me being here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm grateful for this facility, and I'm grateful for the people and the psychologists, and I'm grateful for the 12 steps. I'm grateful for all of these things that I did not want to fucking learn about, but I did. And I'm glad. But that's all.
Sure. Is there anyone here that impacted you or kind of caught your ear more than other people?
I think my psychologist, Charlie, I think was probably the one that helped me the most. I didn't know what the hell they had me doing here. I didn't know what I was doing here or how this place was going to help me until I met Charlie, because, you know what I mean? All I'd ever talked about and people ever talked about was psychology and psychology. I'm like, how are these psychologists going to help me? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you're not talking to your psychologist. And I'm like, well, I don't have anything to talk about with the psychologist. And then I got a new psychologist. And then once we started having a conversation, then I started to feel better. But until then, it was pretty much a living hell. And I had a hard time, you know, trying to participate.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember there was about a 4-month period in the beginning that, I mean, it was hard to get you moving. I mean,
yeah, it's just because I learn a certain way, and it's just like, you know, it's just like being in school for me. Like I'm like, what is this? You know, it's not like I'm not understanding everything. I understand everything already. But you know what I mean? Just understanding it the way that other people do, it was definitely like an obstacle.
mm-hmm. You mentioned the 12 steps. Is that something, I mean, there's people get sober and change their life or get better or heal many ways, right? I mean, there's no monopoly on that. I mean, I did the 12 steps. That's how I got sober. Do you amongst some other things too. I still see a psychologist to this day. And do you think that's something you're going to continue? Is it something you want to continue?
Sure. Yeah, it's easy to continue now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Because there's some good
I've
people in the
been-
12-step program. I mean,
I've been pretty bad to where I'm like, okay, I need to stop what I'm doing, and I didn't have I didn't need to use the 12 steps. Maybe I did without knowing it, but I completely just turned my whole life around before, and I'm surprised now that I did that. I don't know how I did that. Now I don't know how I did that.
well, they say it's progressive, right? So it gets harder to do that over time. Like sometimes somebody can do that when they're younger, or there's other scenarios that come into play that kind of motivate. And you mentioned being able to get flown out in kind of any minute to go do this or do that and kind of escape and, change lanes.
Yeah, you gotta bail.
But it gets progressively harder as time goes on.
And especially if you don't have any money. That's actually a big obstacle. That was one of my biggest problems before coming here. It's like I didn't have the means of transportation. I didn't have.
I mean, you've made a lot of money.
I cut my circle shorter. I was like, and I didn't have anybody to call. I had nowhere to go. And so people thought it was best that I wind up here. And so I wound up here. And that's okay. I wasn't really thrilled about the fight that I had coming my way. It's not really it wasn't really the greatest opportunity. But I was on board with it. It just wasn't looking very good.
What do you see? What do you see for your future? What do you think you can? What do you think you can gain by staying sober, and what's coming up here in your future? What do you want? Where do you see yourself going?
I see myself becoming a world champion.
You still want to fight?
Yeah.
You want to fight again?
I see myself becoming a world champion, and I think it's it's easy money. It's not like before. People are gonna see a brand new me, and
Which would be a beautiful thing, because I know you got a lot of fans, right? And I've mentioned it, even with a short little post, somebody mentioned that you were in treatment. I mean, the hundreds of, maybe thousands, maybe, I don't know, of people that said, hey, go get him, champ. And, I've got family members that have gone through this, or I've gone through this too, and just the amount of support that you have behind you right now. I mean, not only that, but you had, you've had your company, UFC, pay for you to help you. So they believe in you, obviously. I mean, there's a lot. What I'm saying is there's a lot of momentum in your corner, right? To see you do really well, which means to me that people believe in you and people look up to you. What a lot of those fans, I'm sure, have been through very similar struggles, right? Substance abuse, alcoholism, stuff like that. I mean, is that the plan, to lead by example?
I mean, as me being the example.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of times that's what I have to do, right? I have to show up. I don't feel good. I'm sober. I get uncomfortable in my skin sometimes. I get riddled with anxiety, right? I don't have any way. I'm not an athlete, right? So I can't go run a triathlon to relieve my stress. Probably, I probably couldn't even make it to the end of the street. But I don't have the ability to consume anymore to relieve me of this stuff, the stress that I get.
For me, I just think that I wouldn't have made it this far if I thought that there was something that could stop me, That being, the next guy I'm standing in front of, or any obstacle, substance abuse, right or wrong. I just, I'm just very confident that, I'm going to do better every year, every day.
Well, I mean, I believe in you. I think you're gonna do great. I mean, I know you've had your challenges here. It hasn't been easy. You didn't. It wasn't like, hey, let me come down and spend a year with you guys. Like it wasn't on your priority list of things to do at that moment. And I personally have gotten to watch you, and I've also got to see you interact with a lot of different personalities here, right? People come in here in all sorts of shapes and sizes and mindsets, and not once have you been verbally abusive to anybody. Not once have you threatened anybody, and God knows you could probably hurt anybody here, but you haven't. And I think that shows a lot of character about who you are as a person.
Well, thanks, Adam. I appreciate that.
Yeah. We've had fights here. You've seen fights here. You've seen people pop off and and get wily.
I stay out of it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You kind of stay in your lane. Nick, if someone here is watching, someone that is watching, probably there are going to be a few people watching, is struggling with addiction, what would you say to them?
I think if you're gonna if you're gonna play, if you're gonna play with the devil, you need to, if you're gonna outwit the devil, then you need to be sly about this. I think it needs to just be like, an outright, like, just stop before, it, like without even thinking about it, it shouldn't be like, a back and forth argument in your head whether or not you want to stop drugs and alcohol. You should already, be on top of that before you get yourself in over your head.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you got yourself in over your head?
I don't feel that way, but
for me, I had times when I controlled it and I enjoyed it, and there was times that I was able to be even fairly successful while using, but there always inevitably came that time that I overshot the mark, and I didn't have problems every time I got messed up, but every problem I had kind of stemmed from that.
I think that close is too close. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not worth it. If you have a death wish, then, if you're someone like me that lives dangerously, that's just how you live. There's nothing I can say that's going to stop you. But I definitely recommend treatment though. I had so many friends die. I lost some really close friends, and I couldn't figure out. Like, I was like, how, this could have definitely saved their lives.
Do you ever feel like that you've had people that are like, hey, I wish I could have just put my arms around them and put them somewhere?
I wish I could have at least talked to them.
Sure. It's hard to talk to somebody on drugs.
I never got the chance to. They died.
Yeah.
They died, and and that was close enough for me. Like, my friends dying and stuff like that. I just, I wanted, I wanted never to be a part of like what happened to them. And yeah, so just, being close is too close. You know what I mean? And yeah, I recommend treatment for some of these people.
How do you feel about Mexico?
The weather's nice. I've known a few people that could use this place. Like I think Baja Rehab would be a good idea for some people. It's a certain type of people that I think need this place. And I know you guys said, like, you know what I mean. You know, you've had this person and that person call, and you're like right away like, no, I don't think this is the right place for him. And then other people call, and you're like, yeah, okay, we'll take them. So I definitely think that for some of those people, like, it might be the right idea.
Yeah, it's a little different here because, not everybody here or most people here had no idea they were coming to treatment, right? As opposed to in the States, right? You have to verbally, hey, I want treatment, I want help. Even if you check out in 24 hours or 8 hours or 30 minutes after you check in, like you have the right to make, that decision. And it's different. It's different here, right? Yeah, I mean, we
Well, I mean, it definitely makes you take your mental health and accountability. You know what I mean? Because there's just a fine line between, like, okay, I'm gonna hold it together and keep my cool, or I'm gonna start putting people in a neck crank, and until something pops. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
that's that's just the way that I think. You know what I mean? But
Was there times here when you were here
no,
where you're like, I
not
need to get the
not
fuck out of here?
yeah, of course. But I mean, it's not. It's just that, like, I'm like, there's nothing I can do that's gonna make me look any less crazy. It's like, I just wasn't gonna put any fuel on the fire. You know what I mean?
Did you make any friends here? Did you?
Well, yeah, of course. Like when I got here, there was a guy named Josh. You know what I mean? He knew my mom. He knew like where I came. He's like, hey, didn't your mom work at Lions Restaurant Lodi? I was like, oh fuck. And I'm like, how do you know that? And so I made friends with him right away, and then he was in and out of here pretty quick. There's a lot of people that were in and out of here, and I was kind of frustrated because I was here for an extended stay. But yeah, after you get Walton kind of grows on you. There's this older guy here named Walton, and he kind of grows on you after a while. And I tell the new people, I'm like, hey, don't pissing him off. Get him going. And then I had there's a few characters here. There was, you know what I mean. And there's some nice girls that were here in the beginning, Molly and Sunny. And so I remember, if it wasn't for Molly and Sunny when I got here, I would have been pretty frustrated. But they were happy, and Anika, Molly, and Sunny were a group of girls that were here, and they were kind of like, they stuck together, and it made me feel like I was somewhere where I could keep my sanity. When they were gone, it was kind of a rough time. But then new people came, and they kind of start to grow on you.
Yeah, you've been here a little longer than some people.
Yeah.
You've seen some people come and go.
My friend Sophion, he was here, and we became like, pretty cool. I kind of bumped heads with a few people. Like, we just didn't really get along, and I was like, I didn't want to slap anybody around and be like this bully. So of course I wasn't. And yeah, I think me and Sophion got along pretty good. And then there was I do really good with Luis. He's funny. I love Igor. Igor was here, me.
You and Igor are tight.
Yeah, me and Igor Sofyan were pretty tight. I managed
Probably less than
through the
48
millions
hours.
of people and thousands of followers on like Facebook and Instagram. I managed to find people that I've ran into or that I've become acquaintance with, which is a miracle. But sometimes I do. Usually they find me, and then I find them somehow. But
I know those guys would tag along with you, man.
yeah,
When you get out of here,
Yeah.
they'll fucking swoop your ass up, and you guys go to get some coffee.
yeah. Open a let's open a new gym.
Maybe you guys will all open a new
We'll
gym.
call it Relapse.
Relapse, full of sober people. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, anger management fight gym. Relapse fight
Not a bad
academy.
name. Are you looking forward to moving out of here?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hitting the road. I got to get back on a bike, and back in the pool, and I'm sure it'll be nice to get some new equipment and get back in the boxing ring.
I mean, is there anything that you want to say?
No, I just want to thank my fans, supporters, and everybody that is gonna be ready to tune in for my next upcoming fights, and we're gonna win a world title.
Well, I look forward to that, and I'll definitely buy a pay-per-view for sure to see that. The point of this was just to let everybody know how you're doing and kind of get it out there that you're alive and well, and you've been out for a year, and you're back, and I'm super grateful and wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. I know you didn't have to. I know you're not getting paid a fucking penny to do it. It was kind of just to let people know where you're at, because people haven't seen you for a while, and you're moving on. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Thank Baja Rehab.